Now she says it in such a cute voice. Change, please. In a night,
not that voice. That wasn't so cute, but yeah.
Okay. That was a little scary on that one. Change, please.
Sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Obliterating social norms and overrunning the cultural corrosion with righteous rhetoric and common sense. This is Overflow, the extended conversation covering life, today's newsbreakers, and the occasional banter with the most interesting members of the human species. Signaling from the conservative chasm of Central Valley, California. It's the outlaws your conscience warned you about. Let's welcome your hosts, Loto and Philville.
Man, y'all probably wondering why we're a little bit excited today. Philip, can you believe it? We are in episode. Wait for it. Wait for it.
All right. Number 10, man, that's huge. Number 10, how do we even get here?
Oh my goodness, bro. Wow. Yes, right?
10 is a milestone. 10 looking back and looking forward, Loto.
Amen.
Man, been 10 episodes, a lot of great episodes with some guests, some great banter, some surprises, some tears, some laughter.
Man, bro.
A lot of things behind and in front of the camera. Just some great adventure that we're having together. And what about you? What you're thinking about, looking back at all the episodes?
Man, just, one thing that I always respond with when people ask me, man, so how's the podcast going? And I tell them, it's like, I love it. It's a blast, but man, it's not what I thought. It's not just push a record button and then post it on social media, right?
Yeah.
Or on a platform. It takes a lot of work, man. It's a labor of love. I want to thank you, brother, for all the labor of love that you put into this, bro. The sacrifices, that not only you, but even your family, has made. I know that it's again, it's a sacrifice of love. I love doing this, and I thank God we get to do this. Looking back, bro, it's been quite the journey. I know I definitely have some moments that sticks out to me. The crowd, they've got moments. In fact, bro, me, man, I'm a sucker for memories. I love getting favorite memories and all that. But I'm gonna go ahead and just invite everybody in the room and challenge all of you, our guests, our extended family. Why don't you go ahead and drop in a comment? If you look at, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and comment, what your favorite moments are, things that stuck with you since the beginning of the show till now, just some lessons you learned, or just some of the funny stuff, that for some reason, that's always the things that we remember most, right, Philville? But I know for me, man, it was straight out of episode number 1, bro, when you got me, and you got me good, brother, with the wife, about, that text message she sent you, and fatherhood and all that. It really hit me hard, bro, because that is definitely on the top of the list, that I'd be the greatest godly father that I could be, bro.
Oh, that was a moment for our first episode. Yeah, it's man, just hearing that from Maria. And again, I've known you guys for so many years, but to get that raw moment of just your
Praise
reaction,
God, bro.
I literally thought you were going to say a whole bunch, but we were left speechless.
Yeah.
And then you got me, and all I could say was, wow. I was like, and I'm like,
you talking about last week?
Yeah, last week for my birthday, my 25th birthday again.
That was hilarious, bro.
And then some things I don't say we're embarrassed, but I never thought, I guess a little embarrassed, but you got me to do crazy things on camera and voices. I'm intellectual. No, I'm
that too.
Introvert. I'm an introvert, but I won't let that stop me from the calling I know God as my life. And I just love doing this with you. And great guests too, right?
Well, yeah, bro. I mean, we had amazing guests. Last week though, I'm sitting here. That was so hilarious. I'm sitting here, and you're like, so it was just awesome. He had no response to that, so it was really cool. Yeah. I mean, talk about guests, brother. I mean, just the first ones that we had, we had everybody from the Burriels, to Kingdom Music, Brian Trejo, Mike Servin,
yes.
So it's been cool, man. We've got a lineup of more guests coming.
Yes.
That's well known, even to, our boys, and friends, brothers and sisters that we have that I can't wait to introduce to the family, to the extended family, bro. What are some of the other memories that you have, brother? I mean, we've got to talk about Nick, definitely, Nick Jr. That was amazing, bro.
Yes, the feedback and just the impact that his story was, talking about what happened to him.
Yeah.
And his journey. And then to hear it from the perspective of his parents about their son, their boy that was dead. And then he came back to life, and just that a powerful story.
Yeah.
Still hearing great things about that. It's one of our top.
So I just got a testimony yesterday, bro. Maria stopped me.
Yeah.
Nick's mom, and she says, Loto, this weekend, she said that she was doing an event, and two brothers, walked by her, and they say, "Oh, you're Nick's mom, huh?" And she goes, "Yeah." And then, they started bringing up that episode, that she
really?
was just God used her in a very powerful way, And so, yeah. And then I think the most watched moment was probably the Brian Trejo, sharing testimony about, his brother, so that was a powerful moment, and just, going from being locked up, to now he's out there preaching the gospel, and sharing how others, don't need to stay locked down, and how he came out of that lifestyle, but really, I mean, that powerful moment, that he shared with his brother, that was amazing, bro.
Yeah, there was great moments that brought tears to people's eyes, and sometimes it was hard to get through it. We really pray, and you would agree, right? We're doing this to really try to impact people. We want people to connect with what the show is doing, with the podcast. Vision is just to be a light in whatever we talk about. You always say the overflow family, and that's what everybody's becoming. They get to connect with us, get to know us a little bit. Our craziness, my crazy nonsense geekiness and you don't see all my action figures back here, but thank you again. It's great doing this with you, Loto. And you know what? I got to say this. One of my greatest takeaways from episode 10, all the way up to the episode 10 journey with you, is that very thing with you. Many of you know, Loto and I have been friends for many years, but even during this process, you would say we got to know each other in a whole different way. And doing these things, some great discussions behind the scenes, and looking forward to what God is going to do.
Yeah, bro. And that's, thank you for bringing it up. It's so true. We learned a lot about each other, and I'll take that a step further, bro, that we even learned a lot about ourselves, Sure. Like I say, I've always heard that podcasting is therapeutic, and it sure has been, especially for me. I've learned a lot about myself, and it's a lot of it is stuff that I'm probably not too happy about, because these are kinks and all that I've learned about myself going through the process, and just working, and doing this with you. So it's really caused me to stretch, I mean, pardon the pun, but to extend, areas that I need to extend, and I know that's the same for you, bro.
That learning about each other, learning about ourselves, a whole different thing. We start conversations outside of the show.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it here. And just a plug, we got to say a shout out to Kingdom Talk with Dennis McCourt.
Amen.
On KXEX on 1550 AM
yeah.
here in the Central Valley. Yeah, we just, this last episode of last week, if you look it up on the podcast there, we talk a little bit about some stories that have to do with us. That kind of sheds a light on what we're doing here in Overflow too.
Well, on yourself, bro, and that was one thing that's really cool. You mentioned, with your, with being an introvert, and it's so awesome that, man, I've literally been able to sit here and just watch you like really come out, and really deal with it, and that's just been amazing, bro. On that note, for anyone else out there, I would strongly recommend, maybe you don't have to do a whole podcast out of it, but share your story. Share your story, and get good at it. You can only get good at it by getting used to it, and start doing that, because once you start getting familiar with your own story, it's so awesome how much you will learn about yourself. Later on today, we're going to talk about upgrading, your game. Philip, we'll talk more about that, when we get to letting you know what the rest of the show is going to be about. But I encourage all of you, start sharing your story with others. It's a great way to really get to know yourself as well.
Everybody has a story. I think I had to come to terms with my story. And like you said, it's been very therapeutic, and acknowledging the challenges, we just easily say weaknesses, but if we just stop on just saying weaknesses, it just stops. But if you say challenges, like, you know what, God, I want to take that challenge to still move forward in my walk.
Exactly, Philville. You know, and that's a little bit of looking back, brother. Now, man, I you know, especially on this episode, I think, man, I want to revisit, you know, just our goals, you know, and looking forward. Now that we're at where we're at, number 10 definitely gives us a different perspective, right? You know, so looking forward, man, I know that we have a lot of exciting things that, you know, we're looking to do and want to do. I mean, you talk about faith builders, increasing faith, you know, I know that we got a lot of big dreams. We're naturally daydreamers, you know, and we just love being, you know, visionaries and all that. I know for you, you're more the practical, you know, you want to take vision and make it, you know, reality, you know, but man, we're talking about launching other things, you know. For those that don't know, Overflow, the extended conversation, is brought to you by LOTO, which really stands for Life of the Overcomer, you know. And so we want to, and it's kind of our launch pad, and we want to just take this to the moon, like I teased early on in the episodes, you know. But seriously, there's so many things. Phil has talents that people don't even know about because of him being an introvert, you know. And I am telling on him right now, you know, he's kept you guys, you know, from a lot of great moments and experience that you guys could have. You know, but I thank God, like we both said, we both grew through this, you know, and so we want to do everything from being silly. What is it that you said earlier before we started recording, bro? The sock show or the puppet show?
That was a joke. I'm not gonna do no sock. You're saying he wants me to do some sock puppets,
like, you know? Nope. But
it's a joke. But.
You know, but seriously, like we just never know, right? I mean, we want to reach kids. You know, we don't want to just reach youth or adults. You know, so we're talking about launching different podcasts. You know, I definitely want to. You know, one thing we talked about is doing more of docu movies, you know, on highlighting overcomers, like Nick Jr. would be perfect, you know, and just making a bigger deal out of that. So there's so many things I'm working on the book, you know, and all that. And what are some of the other things we were talked about, Phil?
We're looking to have continue more discussions, maybe some additional panels, some more fun times where we talking. I know we talked about some movies, but maybe we're going to talk a little more pop culture and just have some fun and just talk about interests and hobbies and things that impact day to day. That just we provide a little bit of an escape, if you will, in those discussions, and you'll be seeing a lot of new faces too.
Yeah, because Overflow is really that, right? It's an overflow. You know, it's kind of like a buffet of different things. So it'd be awesome. You know, we're gonna extend things. You know, pardon the pun. You know, but really just to get to more specific areas, you know, like culture that Philip talked about, you know, or really getting people some self-help and all that, you know. And so speaking of that, I know that we just put a lot on the table, and it is a lot, you know, and it's going to cost a lot, you know, but we're willing to do it because we have seen and heard what God is doing through Overflow. We get testimonies all the time. It's kind of become an insider thing where, you know, you get with people and they bring up the show and it's like nobody really knows what we're talking about, you know, but our goal is not to become the best kept secret. So like Phil, you know, you dropped that graphic, you know, 1,000 subscribed, thousands more reached. I want to challenge all of you again and remind everybody about the campaign that we have going on to get to 1,000 subscribers, whether that's on YouTube, Apple, any of your favorite social platforms. And it's so awesome, Philville. We're already seeing a lot of progress. You know, we've got hundreds of people watching on YouTube and thousands and thousands even more on TikTok with the shorts, with the reels, you know, and everything like that. But we want to challenge the extended family. You know, again, we don't want to be just an insider thing. And the reason why we're an insider is because others don't really know what's going on with the conversation. And that's where you come in, folks. That's where you come in, family, where you can help us push this and share this with everybody. Because again, if we reach 1,000, you know, subscribers, it allows us to do even more, you know. So our first goal is what's our first goal, Philville?
Our first goal, as you've seen out in social media, is to reach 100 YouTube subscribers.
Yep.
100 YouTube subscribers. And why, Loto?
And because we can own the name of the channel, you know, and that's actually very doable, Philville. I think we're about a dozen away from reaching that goal. Yeah. So that's right around the corner.
Very short. We're talking about numbers, and we can get lost so easy in numbers, but it represents people. We're saying 1,000 subscribed, thousands more reached. And we are seeing that on our downloads alone, reaching over 1,000 downloads since we launched. And we're getting a lot of views on YouTube. and tens of thousands on TikTok is amazing. But we're not done.
Exactly, bro. And you alluded to earlier, people, talk about numbers and all that. Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm not ashamed about being the numbers. I'm about the numbers because the number represents people. Why reach just 10 youth when we have an opportunity to reach 10,000 of them? So I'm all about the numbers. So again, our goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers. And you, family, can help us get there faster. So again, share, subscribe. And thank you all so much for supporting Overflow, the extended conversation. And with your support, we're going to make all the things that we talked about just a few moments ago an awesome reality for thousands more. So Philville, man, what do we have going on today, brother? We are episode 10 and we are loaded.
Yes, we're looking forward to, again, another segment, Newsmakers and Breakers. We've been hearing a lot of great feedback on some great stories, some news of the day, and some nonsense stuff that sometimes happens in our world.
That's
and
right.
Then I'm looking forward for you to talk about an upgrade on your communication game.
Yes.
Some of us, I know I struggle too, but we can all get better on communication. You have some tips you want to go over. We're going to extend that conversation about the Bible drip of the week.
Yes, sir.
And now it's time for
It's your Newsmakers and Breakers.
All right, Loto, for the first one, Kanye West. Yes, the great Kanye West, Jesus is King album, and great.
Easy.
Yeah, he's making a lot of history in the music industry, but he's making new history. He is starting now a private school. Get this, the name is Donda. Tell me,
I think it's Donda.
Donda Academy.
Yeah.
Now, Donda Academy, you can sign up. It's each day. Donda students will learn the fundamentals. They'll grow in their faith and experience 2 enrichment classes.
Nice.
Now, the website talks about adding that the daily schedule includes full school worship, core classes of language arts, math and science, lunch, and the most important, recess.
I thought you said lunch.
Lunch
might have been important.
Yeah, lunch is very important too. But recess, I don't know.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Enrichment courses will include world language, visual art, film, choir, and parkour. So what do you think? The school is going to cost about $15,000.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
$15,000 per year. Although, as stated on the missions pages of the week, everyone is welcome to apply regardless of financial situation. So, what is your take about the great Kanye West Donda Academy?
I've always said it. And some folks thought I was crazy. I'm not your biggest Kanye fan. But I know talent, I'm involved with music, to kind of, understand what's good and not. And I said it that, man, he's the genius. He's the best producer, when you put him up against so many people, he really is the best producer. You could put Dr. Dre up there as well, a few others, but Kanye is just a whole nother beast, brother. So it's kind of interesting to see that, man, that wisdom, hopefully, is going to be passed on to generations, in the future, and so we'll see, man. We're going to have some dragon energy babies probably, coming out of here.
Kanye is a legend. I do get in the mood and put it on. I'm not a hip hop guy, but I love great gospel music. And so when he came out with the album,
oh yes,
I was like, nah, I don't know. But then, because I wasn't sure what to expect, my expectations were like kind of low. But then I put it on, and I'm like, some great songs. I love the throwback that you and I grew up with.
Yeah,
the one that Cornerstone does. God is. Yeah. Oh man, that gets me every time hearing about God is. And so, he's going to have a school.
That's awesome.
So you're going to sign up? You're going to sign up? You're going to go? You're going to teach it. I think you could become an instructor there.
Oh, man. Yeah, probably like video classes. I'm going to do some graphic artwork classes for them. I think that'd be great.
Okay. Speaking of Kanye West, he's making headlines on, I guess, Gap and Adidas placing restrictions on Yeezy standalone activities. The war's not over, quote. What is your thought on that war?
Well, for those that don't know, I believe that Kanye West we're in partnerships with these businesses. And what is it, Gap and Adidas? And so now, Gap and Adidas are really restricting his usage of really his own work,
Crazy. Yeah.
So he's not allowed to really use any imagery, or any kind of representation from their work together, So Kanye is definitely not happy about that. I really don't know who would be though. Again, this it's kind of sad, man. But me personally speaking for myself, this just has a lot of shade of punishment because of his views, and things that he shares. So more censoring, of free talk.
All right. Next we have is Kari Lake. She's running for governor in the great state of Arizona.
Kari, a lot of people of color feel like they're unfairly targeted by police. Are they wrong to feel that way? And regardless of whether there's any merit there, what can you as a governor do to improve perception of police? Ensure that everybody feels like
Can you
the police
repeat
are out
the
there
first
for them.
part of that? I missed that.
Yeah, a lot of people of color feel like they're
A lot
unfairly
of people
targeted.
of color. A lot of people of color. How many people of color have you talked to about that?
I mean, if you look at surveys,
Which surveys? I'm happy to look at those stats because I will tell you this: that I talk to people of color. I talk to all Arizonans. They're all concerned about the crime. Just because your skin isn't the same color as yours doesn't mean you want your kids to be walking down the street in an unsafe neighborhood. Every Arizonan wants safety and security in their neighborhood. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. And if you look at stats, you will look and see that police do not target people of color. That is a lie that's been perpetuated by the left and then spread and disseminated and respread in the media. Check the stats. Check the stats.
Loto, your reaction of Kari Lake.
Thank you, Kari Lake, for speaking out and pushing back and not just accepting the narrative. That's the problem with, that's my issue with this whole story, is I was kind of surprised as the reporter says, whether it's merited or not, well, what are you doing reporting? You're in the wrong job. You should be a sensationalist. You're supposed to report facts and all that. So, my whole thing is I'm glad that Kari Lake did push back. This guy made it sound like every single Arizonian, is against the cops, and all that. I don't have to get into the whole, there's bad cops, good cops. We understand that, but one of the problems that I really thank God that's being addressed is all these elites, and everybody in mainstream media, all the wannabe kings and queens of this nation, is always trying to put words in our mouth, and trying to speak for us. But I'm glad to hear, Kari Lake, push back and no, we don't all feel the same way. This is not majority rules, and just because a lot of people feel that way, that doesn't mean that we all feel that way. In fact, to her point and to this whole, this clip, actually, they're not the majority. There's a few of them. I mean, I have a whole lot more to say, bro. I always talk about how we always think that there's more of them than us. And when I say more of them than us, I'm not even talking about Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, anything like that. I'm talking about just good people who want good for their kids. Yeah. I'm talking about people that just wants to protect, their neighbors, and have the right and the ability and the tools to protect,
I like what she said. Every Arizonan wants safety and security in the neighborhood. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. I think that's what makes it really destroys an argument when everything has to do through the lens of race. It can be easy just for us to say, oh, that's just racist. That's racist. Mm-hmm. That's racist.
Yeah.
And you know what? It takes away from when there's actual true racism, I believe. And and we're talking about the narrative. And it's so easy for the narrative they want to continue a talking point that everything is racist.
Yeah. When you make everything racist, nothing's racist. When you delude racism down to everything is racist, then you start losing the effect of it. And you start losing not just the effect, but the importance and just really the meaning of racism, So this is why it's so important for us to push back, and again, for me, the main issue, with this portion here, this video, is the narrative driving, that we have journalists trying to drive a narrative, when that's not what they're supposed to do. They're the referees, Philville. They're the ones that we trust to report the news, not direct the news and tell us how we should feel about things and really try to manipulate, our thought process and all that. So for me, and that's why I'm glad that Kari Lake pushed back, because many of us have been conditioned to just sit back and like, oh, you know what they're saying, man, that makes sense. That, man, everybody does feel like that. Well, what's wrong with me? Because I don't feel like that. And so now we're debating ourselves, So for me, the main thing about this whole story is that she pushed back, and that she didn't allow another journalist amongst so many of them to try to drive a narrative. Stick to just the reporting.
Next, what we have is from our Vice President Kamala Harris.
We have a secure border in that is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration. But there are still a lot of problems that we are trying to fix, given the deterioration that happened over the last 4 years.
Don't you thank God for such a secure border that we have?
Yeah, bro. Ask President Obama how he feels about that border right now. And who was a matter of fact, the vice president herself, Kamala, with the immigrants that's being sent to their front yard,
Oh, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
All of a sudden in your front yard, a lot of people just all of a sudden showed up.
It's a lot different. It's a lot different when you actually have to deal with this head on and face to face, and not be in the boardrooms, making decisions, that hurts everybody else. So yeah, these people are disconnected. It is so sad, and again, this goes beyond politics. We're talking about safety. We just heard about the teacher, that or the school employee that, I think he overdosed just by grabbing a fentanyl,
That's right.
This weekend I heard that it only takes, how big the ballpoint pen is, just the tip of it, to cause somebody to go into overdose. I mean, and we have a whole lot of that stuff coming across the border. Phil, President Trump's wall that he was trying to build, I believe that was going to cost us, was it $3 million, or I forget the exact amount. But now when you look back, it's really starting to cost us even more now, because that border is still open. And I'm sorry, Vice President Kamala, but it is not secure. It's not secure when we still have kids that's dying, from fentanyl and all that, and again, now they're getting to see that, oh, wait a minute, these are the issues that they have to deal with.
Yeah. There's a metaphor, like the pipe is leaking.
Mm-hmm.
You need to fix that pipe.
Yeah.
But if not, that damage from the leak itself just makes it more expensive than paying for the actual repair of the leak. And we see at the great vacation spot of Martha Vineyard, right?
Mm-hmm.
We see the influx. They had to call the government. They had to call the National Guard, or what was it? They had to call the army or something, just for 50 people.
Yeah.
And then they bust them out less than 24 hours, I guess, what I hear.
Yeah. And but we have 2 million now coming across the border.
Yeah. And the dead of night, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., flights being in every state, in so many cities.
Yeah.
For the past couple of years.
Yeah. So I mean, again, I don't care if this is a President Obama or President Bush or Vice President Kamala or Vice President Pence. It doesn't matter. The issues are still the issues, and people's lives are still in danger. And, the one good thing about this is it highlights, to the truth for so many people, and we really have to get to the truth to start solving these problems.
And we're hearing a lot of talk about there's a lot of hypocrisy taking place, and rightfully so. There's a lot of hypocrisy because we talked about the 50 versus all the hundreds of thousands throughout the whole United States. But they're saying it's not necessarily hypocrisy. It's more about hierarchy.
Absolutely, bro. I've said it. I mean, go on my, you can see all my social media stuff. I've said it before, especially in California, there's such a push for the royal class and for the peasants. How do you get there? Eliminate the middle class. Eliminate the middle class. Then you can have your hierarchy, and there will be nobody to protect the lower class.
The next we have is from a word from our president. He was on 60 Minutes.
I heard about that interview.
Mr. President, as you know, last Tuesday, the annual inflation rate came in at 8.3%. The stock market nosedived. People are shocked by their grocery bills. What can you do better and faster?
Well, first of all, let's put this in perspective. Inflation rate month to month was just an inch, hardly at all.
You're not arguing that 8.3 is good news.
No, I'm not saying it is good news, but it was 8.2 or 8.2 before. I mean, it's not. I can make it sound like all of a sudden, my God, it went to 8.2%.
Just a little bit. It's the highest it's been, like the journalist said, in 40 years. in 40 years. Just what, 2 years ago, we had the best economy going. We had the most employed people, in the world. And now we find ourselves with 8-9% inflation. And, I mean, man, I pray for our president, but for him to say it's no big deal because it's just a little bit. I don't care if we're paying like $13, for cereal, which we're going to be probably, paid soon. If it jumps up $13 to $13.50, I don't care. That is a lot for people who can't afford those things. I don't know where the guy goes shopping, or the president goes shopping, but I'm having a hard time, responding, bro, because I cannot.
Oh yeah.
I'm amazed by how he continues to surprise us. I just thought I heard it all, and I cannot be surprised anymore. But to say that,
yeah, that's crazy. He had to see that ice cream has gone up. I mean, come on, he likes ice cream, right?
yeah. Hopefully he'll see that, when he goes to the ice cream parlor, But man, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I cannot believe what I just heard. I wouldn't believe it really if I didn't just hear that.
Oh, we got to line it up a little bit here. Speaking of Biden, I mean, don't you love the Babylon Bee? We got to have a little bit of fun, but
Babylon Bee is awesome.
Yeah, a lot of satire. So I said that to give a little disclaimer because people will say you guys are being so mean. No, it's just a little bit of fun. We do want to for sure say.
I'm sorry. Let me say this real quick. Again, we love the president. We pray for him. Want the best for him. But I'm sorry. We don't have to come up with anything funny. He supplies a lot of material.
True. Okay. Well, as we're recording today, I think the funeral has taken place. A great Queenie. We talked about her last week, and some great diplomats. Some world leaders have come across the whole globe to visit and give their condolences to the royal family and to United Kingdom. We love the Babylon Bee, right? Just some great fun. And we're just putting up some breaking news from the reporter from the Babylon Bee. Biden tearfully gives Queen one final sniff. Right there, those of you listening on the coffin, Biden kneels down and the Queen giving condolences. And what do you see?
Yeah.
I know. Love a great president. Thank you for representing us, Mr. President. But in great honor of Queen, the great Queen of reigning for 70 years. You know who else visited, paid respects? Yes, not a great dignitary. They were there. Not a great president. They were there. Great.
I heard they had an awesome guest come in, bro.
Yes. A spider came down and made international news. They're making a great deal of the spider.
I heard about that. It's like, wow, even the spiders came along. That's you know what? That spider I'm good with. It's the spiders that showed up from the political realm that I'm probably scared of.
Oh, the bugs. I mean, the insects or the we need pest control now. Anyway, so Loto, we said a lot of different things, but that was it for.
It's your news breakfast.
And getting right into the extended conversations and our big topics for the day. Like Philville teased earlier, man, I want to talk to you guys about upgrading your communication game. For all of you who's looking to put a little more swag into your communication, we got this from one of the Apple sources, and that's Apple News. The 7. What's the headline again?
Apple News from the INC.Inc. Right, reporting 7 smart phrases people with high emotional intelligence keep saying over and over, and why.
Yeah, and thank you, Phil. I came across this and I was like, man, this is really good stuff, man. Especially here in episode 10 of Overflow, the extended conversation. This is about communication. We're about communicating good news, real news, newsmakers, nonsense. So I wanted to take time on just helping others, that might want to, upgrade their communication skills. So this 7. I'm not sure how much I agree with all of them, but I think it's worthwhile, to bring forward, to our extended family here.
So number 1, quote, let's think about why.
So these are phrases that you want to use to show that you're that you're emotionally intelligent, that you're not some crazy. Like I say all the time, I'm not crazy. I promise. The voice told me I'm not crazy, so I know I'm not crazy. But yeah, so these are some of the phrases that you want to put into your daily vocab, and that you want to exercise and practice and use until it becomes just a natural thing. But again, what was that number? What was that first one, Philville?
Let's think about why. And it says, why is a magic word. It's like a linguistic can opener that pries motivations free and separates emotion from objectivity.
Yes, the specific word to enter and to use daily is why. It's all about the why. Phil, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I had a flash right now. A little kid. Didn't you ever have a conversation like, why? Wait, can you go do this? But why? But I guess it makes good conversation. You want to know the why in something versus just like, and they give an example. Why is the person in that car yelling at me?
And that's so. I mean, you hit it right on the money, bro. And it brings up something that I share with parents a lot, especially as a youth. When I was leading the youth there at Cornerstone, I'm sorry, but the whole because I told you so, that doesn't work anymore. This is a why generation that we're dealing with. And we have to explain the why because they have access to so many other counsel and so many other advisors on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. So they're going to go find out the why. Parents, you want to make sure that you provide the why.
That is so true.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought about that. Yeah. And working with youth.
Yep.
Always like, what? Why? Yeah. You can't do this. Why?
Yep. I have parents all the time. Lots of they're going to do it. You know why? Because I told him so, and I'm thinking, man, I wish you knew where your kid was, last week, obviously you don't, so it's, so yeah. So, and then, just take it to a different level, when you have a conversation, you want to make it a practice of asking people or getting the why they're doing something, because a lot of times you'll deal with people and they're doing things and they haven't even really asked themselves why they're doing it. So when you bring it up, it makes you, it brings you across as somebody that's there to help them. And it actually makes you look really intelligent. Again, emotionally intelligent, because then they're like, wow, I didn't even think of that. Wow, this person is smart. Like I never asked myself why.
Loto. Okay. Number 2, you would think this is a natural thing that people would say. Here it is. Thank you. Number 2, thank you. Also, please. And you're welcome. So it says politeness costs nothing, but people with high emotional intelligence understand that gratitude is one of the keys to happiness in life, which can only leave people feeling good about those who express it to them.
Mom and Dad, did we ever think that we had to teach the kids or bring, Philville, this one right here it's probably the one that got me most fired up and why I was like, man, we have to talk about that. We need to put that on an overflow. And it's sad that even has to be something that we highlight and bring up and really try to teach, in communication, because that should be a given. And these are some of the things that we have lost in our culture. We talk about in the intro, that we're here to obliterate, social norms and cultural corrosion. Yeah. And this is one of the things that corroded, our society, is the absence of thank yous and please, that we should be teaching our kids. And that starts at home, but we're losing that battle. And, well, what do you think, bro?
It goes on saying, find opportunities to end conversations with expressions of sincere, watch this, uncontroversial thanks.
I really want to stress the importance of teaching, thank yous and pleases, mom and dad, to your kids or guardians. Because some of us, the reality is a lot of kids grow up with their grandparents, or their ninas or tios, but teach them how to say thank you and please. And I say that as one that works with kids who are incarcerated now. And I'm amazed by how their lives and their mentality and their perspective completely changes when they get into a habit of saying thank you and please. It really does something to a child when they're taught that. It changes their perspective. It changes even their posture, because it teaches them a couple of things. And it's not just to say something at the end of, when somebody does something for them. It causes them to really understand one thing, authority. When they say thank you to someone, it teaches, to be submissive. Now, some of you might be jumping on that woke train. It's like, oh my gosh, you want us to be submissive and this and that. I'm sorry. I would rather have a kid, learning how to be submissive to authority under my watch, somebody that cares about my child, than to have that kid learn submissiveness. Again, I said this again, in front, to a judge, or to a probation officer, or to, getting in trouble, outside of the house. This is something that we should teach them in the house. It just upgrades, again, their perspective, which really upgrades their posture. And in doing so, that upgrades them just as a person.
Politeness goes a long way. My daughter, she's learning about the app, YouTube Kids, changing the channel, changing the video. When she first started off, she go, look at us and make this face. Oh my goodness. It's like over and over. Mia, change, please. We'll say it. And she wouldn't say it. Change, please. Change. We got to teach them. Now she says it in such a cute voice. Change, please. In a night,
not that voice. That wasn't so cute, but yeah.
Okay. That was a little scary on that one. Change, please. But yeah, she's learned, right? She's learned change. She gets more response with politeness than not being polite. Yeah. Okay, number 3 is very close to thanks, but it's no thank you. You want to say something about that?
No, thank you. But no, this is very important also. It's important, to teach this, because again, when you upgrade your communication, man, you upgrade your relationship with others, we'll start to see a lot less friction, a lot less drama when people know how to communicate properly. It is amazing. What's so funny about this, Philville? I just had a conversation with one of the kids at Juvenile Hall, and he's talking about how, man, we I wish they would really help us, to learn better communication skills. So even a child, even a young person in incarcerated understands the importance of proper communication, and no thank you is an important part of it, right?
Yeah.
Because again, it teaches them a lot of other things, not just how to say no thank you. It teaches them how to say no to things that they probably shouldn't get involved with. It teaches them how to push back and to not just accept, the social norm, or just because everybody else is doing it. So these small little tiny exercises helps them deal with other, bigger situations that they'll be facing, in their lives. And I'm not just talking about, kids, right? We're talking about adults too.
Number 4, can I see if I understand? I love this one because you want to make sure people are listening. I want people to understand, especially somebody who has a hard time talking sometimes. Are they understanding what I'm saying?
No, this is awesome, bro. And I love using this one when I'm talking to people because it's important for me that they know I actually care. One thing I really try to do, bro, is to make sure whoever I'm talking to that they understand that, man, right in that moment they're the most important person in the room. And this is one way to do that. Again, for those of you that's trying to upgrade your communication game, this is a very important phrase. Say that phrase again.
Can I see if I understand?
This shows that, man, that you're not just waiting your turn to talk. This shows that, man, you're not just nodding your head and you don't even hear what they say, just so you can get in whatever great wisdom you have to part, to the people in the room. And when you take a moment to pause and you try to understand what they're saying, it really makes you, again, look emotionally intelligent, but it helps you to have a healthy conversation because you actually know what you're responding to.
Yeah, it says first, no matter what happens after this sentence, you signal to someone else that you care.
Yes.
To make the attempt to understand where they're coming from.
Amen.
You're not assuming you understand. You're not ignoring them. You're making the effort.
Yes.
I love that. You're making effort in communication.
So, Philip, let me make sure I understand.
I hate your face. Okay. Number 5. Okay, I love this. This is a very being humble about something. So number 5, I make this mistake all the time. Let me give you an example. Okay, here's example 1 as show the contrast. I can't believe you are so foolish as to make this mistake. You need to fix it right now. Okay, you can say it a different way, right? I make this mistake all the time. It's so easy to miss. I wonder if you check and see if you might have done something similar.
Yes. Yeah. So this might come off, across as passive aggressive, but this really is a great way, to communicate, something that was done wrong and that needs some fixing. It's putting, the what is the word? It's putting the negative on you, and lightening up, when somebody else makes a mistake. So I really do appreciate this phrase.
Number 6, Loto says, "Can I ask for some advice?"
Man, I really love this one. I'm just I'm a sucker for getting counsel and wisdom to a fault, I think. But whenever I just start a venture or anything, I will call like 100 people, that's already done it, to make sure that, I pile up some wisdom before I make a decision, so this one, man, I really like, I don't do it as well as others, but this is really, really cool. Can I get some advice that actually would help us, with a lot of decision making, but it would also cause us to tap into a lot of wisdom that people have that we wouldn't get otherwise.
Bottom line, the request suggests that others have or know something you don't. Emotionally intelligent people know that increases pride and interest, maybe willingness to cooperate.
Yeah. And again, it's not just limited to the people that, let's say, again, to use the example I used earlier, if you're about to go on a venture, I wouldn't just ask advice just for people that went on that venture. Maybe you can ask someone that has nothing to do with what you're about to do, but that's just somebody that's always successful for some reason and whatever they do. So those are some of the people that we're going to ask, hey, can I get some advice?
Number 7, I expect a lot from you.
Okay, now that sounds kind of demanding and all that, but I understand this one because it's something that, in different ways, we try to convey, even as a team, with working with the youth that we do or adults, and really it's just pushing the expectation to cause others to raise their own expectations of themselves, So it's actually a builder, it's not as demanding as, oh, I expect more from you, it doesn't say that. It's, I expect a lot from you. In other words, man, you're so awesome. Like, I wish you knew that, because you'd be doing a lot more awesome things and not settle for less. So to put just to put a ribbon on what we talked about today, there's a verse in the Bible, and we'll call it the Bible drip of the week.
Yes,
Philville, I believe it's Colossians 4 or chapter 4, verse 6. Can you read that for us, please?
Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone.
Let your conversations be full of grace, seasoned with salt. So you have to have sweet, and then you have to have salt, But when we communicate, if you really want to upgrade your game, I'll tell you, those 7 suggestions are great, but the greatest communicator actually wrote a book on it, and that's the Bible. Learn how to get into this Bible, and it will teach you how to communicate, because really when it comes to communication, the foundation has to be the way that we look at people and the way that we treat people. So if you really want to change the way that you communicate with others, you really have to have a change of heart. In other words, you have to have a change of posture, and it's a lot easier to speak to people nicely when you have a nice posture. But if you're always rigid and if you always suspect and if you're always, questioning, interrogating people and all that, you're not going to come across the way that I know that you would. Nobody wants to be a mean person. Nobody wants to be known as a mean person. So you're going to have to change your posture. And if you need help in changing your posture, you can try to do it on your own. In our own experience, we found that it's a lot easier through a relationship with Christ. But this verse tells us that, to use grace and to use salt. So be sweet when it's time to be sweet, but never be afraid to be salty when it's time to be salty. A lot of times people suffer when they could get help from people who doesn't want to tell them the truth because it doesn't sound so sweet. Sometimes it's kind of sour and it's a bad taste, but we have to honor them and love them enough to tell the truth, but do it in grace. Do it in tact. We don't have to punch people over the head, to get our messages across. Just use some grace and use some salt. Learn how to get good with that, and you'll be a communication expert. Bill, another show.
Yes, Loto. Again, just a great discussion today. Great episode. Episode number 10, Loto.
Man, bro, milestone.
Thank you for joining us on the Overflow EXT podcast. And we look forward to next week, right, Loto?
Yes. And remember, 1,000 subscribed, thousands more reached. Get out there and share and subscribe, and we will see you next week. Lord bless. Love ya.
You've been listening to Overflow, the extended conversation, obliterating social norms and overrunning the cultural corrosion with righteous rhetoric and common sense. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on social media at Overflow EXT. Lord bless, and we'll see you next time on Overflow, the extended conversation.